once in a while a movie comes along that's able to fill us with a little bit of hope, a little bit of wonder, and also remind us what film has the capacity to be visually, and that is exactly how I feel about Project Hail Mary. Movies about space and or alien life provide endless opportunities for storytellers. There are so many great films in the genre. I grew up on stuff like 2001, The Right Stuff, Space Cowboys, and Contact, but I think these four movies right here kind of sum up a lot of what is going on in Project Hail Mary. If you don't know, it's an adaptation of a 2021 novel by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian, which Ridley Scott previously adapted, and he also wrote Artemis, which I believe Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are still planning on adapting. I have not read these novels, making my way through the Project Hail Mary audiobook right now, but I think with The Martian and Project Hail Mary, there is a lightness and a lot of comedy in these stories. It's in a way that does not feel forced. It's very intelligent, dry, and witty. The humor in this story and the kind of outsider, oddball nature of Dr. Ryland Grace, played by Ryan Gosling, reminded me a lot of Michael Bay's Armageddon, which I think is his best film. I think with the general concept of a mission to save a doomed Earth, there will be a lot of comparisons drawn to Interstellar. I think this is a better film than Interstellar. I think Interstellar is in the back half of Christopher Nolan's filmography. I think he does not handle this type of emotion very well. I think he's a very cold filmmaker, which I like a lot of his stuff, but I think he's very heavy-handed, and a lot of the science feels inaccessible in Interstellar. That is not the case with Hail Mary. I was also reminded a lot of one of Denis Villeneuve's best films in Arrival, with coming to understand and communicate with an alien life form. There's also shades of Apollo 13 here, one of the best space movies ever made. It's very lonely, it's very desperate, but there's also a focus on human ingenuity and capacity to solve problems. On its surface, it's a very simple story. Our sun has essentially become infected, and a small team is sent to a faraway system to try to find answers. Our lead scientist, played by Gosling, wakes up, he figures out something terrible has happened, and he tries to figure out both his past and his purpose. He begins to gain an understanding as to what's going on. We come to understand his mission, and we see glimpses of his past, sometimes in big chunks, sometimes in little ones. We learn that he's working for the Hail Mary project, which is run by Ava, who is played beautifully by Sandra Hüller. Sandra Hüller had a big year back in 2023 with The Zone of Interest and Anatomy of a Fall, which I thought was the best film of that year. She adds so much to this film. There's a lot of depth and complexity to this very strict and serious German character. Fun seeing this kind of fish out of water story first and seeing him come to understand the necessity of his mission. Gosling is undeniably fantastic in this film. He's one of my personal favorite actors. I've seen him make things recently like The Fall Guy, where I felt he was really wasted, so I'm happy to see him back in something that is big and charismatic, and it really rides on his performance. He does not disappoint, and thank God, because in a lot of ways, this is essentially a one-man show. First hour or so of the story is a little bit slow. It's very patient, it's plotting, it's setting everything up so you understand what's going on. I think if you can stick with it through that, which is still enjoyable, the payoff is really, really strong. When it gets rolling is with the introduction of the other part of this story, an alien life form named Rocky, who is voiced by James Ortiz. That's where the true beauty of the story really begins, because we see that his planet is suffering from the same fate. So we see these two people come to learn, to try to understand each other, try to get on the same page, and try to figure out what's going on. There's something very tired, stale, and limited in the way that human beings tend to depict alien life in film. That is not the case with Rocky. There's so much depth to him. Him and Ryland are both very lovable, and their connection feels real. There are moments that are visually very compelling. For those moments to really hit, the story has to be there, the characters have to be there, and the emotion has to be present. Film is shot beautifully by Greg Fraser, who did the cinematography for The Batman, Dune Part 2, The Creator, Rogue One, among others. Writing and direction from Phil Lord and Christopher Miller is very good. They wrote and directed the Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street, so they know their way around comedy. Phil helped write Into the Spider-Verse. The pair helped write Across the Spider-Verse, so they know their way around big, grand, emotional storytelling. Obviously, the source material pretty much across the board is considered absolutely excellent. I want to shout out the score from Daniel Pemberton, who also did the music for Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. I think music is so important for big stories like this with a lot of quiet, a lot of stillness. You need that music for the emotional impact as well. The film is great to look at, great to listen to, and two incredible performances lead the way. I want to shout out Lionel Boyce from The Bear, who is a small side role here, but he nails every single moment he's on the screen. All things considered, I think this is a good first 60 minutes. I think it's a great last 90 minutes. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. I encourage you to go see it and see it in IMAX.